Thank you for joining the Indivisible Illinois Social Justice Alliance. I'm going to take 1 second just to go over our organizing sentence. We are a multiracial, ethnic, generational coalition pursuing a more diverse, engaged, inclusive electorate. And the way we do that is by educating voters and advocating policies that directly impact underserved communities through empowering, supporting, and elevating frontline groups to achieve economic, political, and social justice. The Social Justice Alliance is on Facebook. So if you're not following us, please do follow us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter as well. And you can contact us at iisja@indivisible.il.com. The Social Justice Alliance has a monthly meeting structure. Our week one, we concentrate on working with underserved community partners and groups like Chicago 400, the Indigenous People Day Coalition, Newtown Action Alliance, Chicago Survivors, Preemptive Love Wings. Our week two is our Suppression-Free Democracy, a roadmap to 2020, where we update each month to bring a big picture reminder, as well as concrete actions where people can get engaged on that roadmap to 2022. On week three, we concentrate on our messaging discussion, where we have a work group that combat disinformation related to critical race theory in local school boards, which is considered to be a campaign issue for GOP for midterms. We partner with groups like Truth Brigade and the Anti-Racist Working Group. And on week four, which is this week, is our voter registration week. So IO Vote. We concentrate on partnering with community leaders in our underserved neighborhoods as well. We are so very happy and pleased today to have joining us Field Team 6. Deborah Verla and Patrick Mead has helped, and Field Team 6 has helped register almost 3 million swing state Democrats before the 2020 general election, and now we need to do it again. Field Team 6 has been laser focused on registering voters in our sister state of Wisconsin, and recently hosted Wisconsin Democratic Chair and informative lead Ben Wickler. So I'm very, very pleased to introduce to some and present to others Deb Verla and Patrick Mead.
Great, thank you, Kim. I'm so excited to be here. I'm Debbie Verla with Field Team 6. Also, I'm a member of our Indivisible group here in Southern California. We're called Indivisible Beach Cities. I sit on their roundtable. So I'm familiar with Indivisible, but today we're here to talk about Field Team 6 and the work that we're doing to register voters. If you're not familiar with Field Team 6 yet, we are an organization that was started a few years ago by a man named Jason Berlin here in Los Angeles. And we are proudly and legally partisan. We don't make an effort to register Republicans. Our motto is register Democrats, save the world. And that's what we're out there trying to do. In fact, we used to do in-person voter drives, and still do, where we would walk up to people and ask them, do you want to help me save the world from Trump? And people would either be offended and walk away, which was fine, or they'd laugh and say, yeah, what can I do? How can I help? And we'd register those people, and quite often they'd volunteer to help us. And we got thousands of people, recruited thousands of people to help us by asking them if they would help us save the world from Trump. Well, like everybody else, last year we got forced inside by the pandemic, and we had to completely rethink everything we did because it just wasn't safe for us to be outside anymore. So we had to learn how to phone bank and how to do text banks, how to do postcards. Over the course of the year leading into the election last year, like Kim said, we registered over 3 million Democrats in the key swing states. We concentrated on 12 states specifically, and those were the states that had either a strong governor race or a Senate race or House of Representative races that we thought we could flip or that we really needed to hang on to. So we concentrated on just those states because, you know, nobody has the resources to reach everybody, including us. So we're concentrating our efforts on those areas where we think we can actually make a difference. So during that year, we started doing media storms. And the first media storm that we did was to promote our new website that's called Voterizer. And Voterizer is a website that we created that allows you to register voters in any state across the country. Once you pick your state, on the front page of that website, it takes you directly into the voter registration for that particular state. And of course, every state is different. They all have their own rules, their own regulations. Some states like Texas don't allow you to do the whole process online. In Texas, you actually have to fill out the form online. You can print it out, but you need to put it in an envelope with a stamp and mail it in. So everybody's a little bit different. We learned all those rules and regulations, and you can register to vote in about 2 minutes from our Voterizer site. So with that first media storm, we created about 24 million impressions in that couple of weeks that we were introducing Voterizer. And it worked so well, we thought, why don't we continue this media storm effort? And it was easy. Most importantly, it's free. I mean, we still have to have artists create the graphics for us. We have to get them out there, but it's a free way to advertise and promote our own message. And it's worked really well for us. We stormed heavily during the 2020 elections and through the Georgia runoffs. We were real involved, especially in the Native American efforts in Georgia. And we feel like we were part of a big effort that made Georgia happen. And of course, that was really exciting for everyone. So we've kept the storming going. We started it back up again a few months ago. And when we started it back up, we now do a training every week teaching people how to media storm, and those people keep coming back and storming with us. And we started with about, I don't know, 2 or 3 million impressions probably each week. And now we're averaging between 15 and 20 million impressions out there in people's faces every week, leading into the recall of Governor Newsom, our ridiculous, expensive recall effort in California. We did 100 million impressions in the month leading up to it with Newsom, a lot of Newsom assets. And we feel like we made a big difference. There wasn't much publicity at all, especially 3 or 4 weeks before that election. So we feel like, you know, we were a big part of that election push to say no on the recall. So here we are a year and a week before the 2022 elections, and it's starting up again. We never stop registering people. It's a year-round effort. We can't afford to just sit back and hope that somebody else will do it. So we're out there registering new voters every day. And one of our primary ways of doing it is by doing media storms. And we do media storms on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We spend most of our time on Twitter because we can measure it easily, and it's easier to make a big splash on Twitter. So I'm going to show you how easy this is and invite anyone out there to come and join our media storms. You can join our trainings on Wednesdays. You can also tweet our assets out on your own anytime you want. But we do the storms on Wednesday. It's 11 o'clock Pacific time, so 1 o'clock Central time. That's when there's the most people around to actually read and promote everybody else's messages. But I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you how easy this really is and how you can take part in it as well. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, and hopefully you can all see my screen now. I am on the Field Team 6 website. I put a link to our website in the chat. A lot of good information here, some great videos, just all kinds of information about Field Team 6 and who we are. There's a look at our voterizer.org portal, what it looks like. This isn't the actual portal itself, it's its own website, but lots of good information here. So when we do our media storms, there's a couple menus across the top of our website page, and I go to the actions menu, and all the way down at the bottom, easy to find, is a link to our current storm. And what we've done is create what we call assets, okay? From here, there's directions here, but I'm just going to walk you through it. I can do this on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. I'm just going to go straight to Twitter because it's the easiest one to show. And we call these assets. It's just our own word. It's not really a Twitter term. Our assets consist of some compelling text and then a real striking visual. We want it to be strong, colorful, so that people will actually notice it. The tweets that get the most play on Twitter using their algorithms are ones that have graphics or videos or at least links in them. Those are the ones that Twitter pushes out the most. So that's what we're trying to go along with, get colorful, eye-catching graphics out here. They change a little bit every week, depending on what we're focusing on. Of course, right now we're focusing on Build Back Better. So we've got a number of different assets that are all about that Build Back Better campaign. When I scroll down, you can see there's lots of stuff here about different phone banks or text banks that we're doing, in-person voter drives, which I'll talk in a few minutes as well. Of course, the Freedom to Vote Act, we're kind of taking a step back from that until we get more information and can jump on that again. Information about our postcard campaigns, but there's always lots of things that we can push out there to Twitter. And this is how easy it is. I pick which asset I want to use, and I'm going to use this postcard one here on the left side of my screen. And all I need to do is click the big blue button that says Customize and Share. I click that button and a pop-up window appears. And in that pop-up window, it shows me that whole asset. Okay, once I'm sure that it's here and the graphic is there, all I need to do is click the tweet button. So I click tweet, a message tells me your tweet was sent. And that's all that's involved tweeting out our messages. Let me do it again. I click Customize and Share. The pop-up window shows me, I want to make sure that the graphic came through. Sometimes the first time you do a new graphic, and because we change these up, you know, there's new ones every week, we always want to make sure that the graphic shows so that we make sure that it's going to get out there to Twitter. I click the tweet button and it tweeted. What could be easier? Okay, now every time I tweet out any of these assets, for Twitter, you know, we're limited to 280 characters. So we've tried really hard to keep our text below 280 characters. They always will be, but you can edit the text. And so if there was a particular campaign and a particular hashtag that you wanted to put in this, you could certainly edit the copy to include that hashtag. Okay, if there's something that, as Illinois, that you wanted to promote, or Wisconsin, you wanted to promote something to do with Wisconsin, that's real easy to put that kind of information in. Let me give you an example. There's a, we're running in-person voter drives, and we have a training to run those in-person voter drives. And when I pull up this asset, you know, as it gets closer to the elections, I could put in the handle for a Wisconsin politician in here. So I could put in the actual handle for Governor Evers and put that right in my message. And when I tweet that out, it will include his handle in it. I doubt that he checks his own Twitter, but he's probably got a staff that does check it. So whether it's something like a training for a voter drive or information about that particular campaign to reelect Evers when we get a little closer to that, you can certainly tag those people who are involved in it so that they can see those messages. So that's the first part of our media storms. The bread and butter of our media storms is to get these messages out. But you know, that's kind of like dropping a pebble into a pond. And we want the ripples to start going away from that pebble. And so the second part of our media storms, I'm going to jump over to another tab and bring up Twitter. And when I go to my own profile page, here's the tweets that I just sent out. Okay, they show up right on my profile page. That's as easy as and complicated as it is to get it out to Twitter. But the second part, the second step of our media campaigns is to promote all these different tweets. And we've got an army of people that come to our trainings on Wednesday, get trained, and then they start storming with us. And they're out there promoting and amplifying every tweet that we do. All of our assets, as we call them, include a hashtag that's hashtag voterizer. And so our people are out there looking for tweets that include voterizer hashtag, and then they like and retweet all those tweets, which means they're not only going to be seen by the person who posted it, but then by the retweeters, all their followers. And what we found as we keep getting bigger and bigger and more people come and storm with us, and we increase our number of followers, our tweets are being picked up by people who aren't part of our storming squad, all kinds of people, because they get retweeted, and then those retweets get retweeted, and it just keeps growing and getting. So this is the second step. I come to Twitter and I search for our voterizer hashtag. I just type it in hashtag voterizer. And then it shows me all the tweets that have come in. Here's the 3 that I just sent out, but here's a tweet that was sent an hour ago by someone on our team. And as a different user, as a different account holder, I can come through, and the buttons right beneath each tweet, all through Twitter, the first one that looks like a cartoon speech bubble allows me to leave a comment on it, which you can do. The second one lets me retweet this tweet. So when I click retweet and select retweet, I just retweeted her tweet, which means, you know, her followers are going to see it, but now my followers are also going to see her retweet. And then I can like it. Now, the way Twitter works with its algorithm is they tend to promote tweets that have graphics in them, whether it's a photo, a video, a link to something. They also tend to promote the most recent tweets, and they also promote the tweets with the most engagement. So by retweeting this tweet, it not only gets seen by more people, but it gets a higher standing kind of in the Twitter algorithm, so that they're going to share it with even more people. So the more I engage with the tweet, the more it gets shared. So we've got this army of people out there who are liking and retweeting each one of these different tweets. And I can see a couple different tweets that include the voterizer hashtag, and I can just come along and like and retweet each one of those different tweets, and it promotes them. It gets it shared into more people's Twitterverse, as you will. Here's an Indivisible group who's tweeting out our assets. I can like and retweet theirs. So again, by their own followers, and then it also gets seen by potentially all of my followers. And then we've got a third step to our media storms, which is piggybacking on other people's tweets. So I can actually go in, and I've already got a couple things bookmarked. But here's a tweet that Ben Wickler sent out yesterday that we must re-elect Governor Evers in 2022. He's our last line of defense. I can take this tweet because Ben Wickler has 156,000 followers, which is way more than my 7,000 or 8,000 followers. I can take his tweet and piggyback on it. I can, instead of retweeting, I can do what Twitter calls a quote tweet and put my own message on it and say, yes, we must re-elect Governor Evers. Then I always include our voterizer hashtag. And the reason I do that is because, again, we've got this army of people out there who are looking for our tweets that have the voterizer hashtag in it, and they're going to promote it even more. It's going to spread and spread even more. So by putting that voterizer hashtag into our message, it gets shared with even more people. And again, if there's a hashtag that you guys were using for a particular campaign, whether it's for Illinois, whether it's for Wisconsin, you can include that in here as well and instruct the stormers who are working with you to search for that particular hashtag and promote it by liking it and retweeting it. If it also includes the voterizer hashtag, my army is going to pick it up and promote it. And that's what we find by our different groups working together. We work a lot with Demcast, who has a big Twitter presence out there as well. And we promote each other's tweets, and it's worked real well for us. So I just click the tweet button, and that gets shared out there. Here's a message straight from Governor Evers. I can do the same thing with his by quote tweeting it. I can put my own message on this. And again, I'm going to put my own voterizer hashtag on it. And then our army will find that and promote it. Our media storming is sending out all our original tweets, as many as they can. And we have different assets each week, depending on what campaign we're working on. And as we go into 2022, we'll have more assets that are specific to the different states, to our different swing states. The second step, of course, is then finding all the tweets that have that voterizer hashtag and liking and retweeting those, amplifying it. And the third step is really piggybacking on other closely related tweets, picking those up, quote tweeting it, putting our own message on it, and by including our own hashtag, our army of people is going to pick those up and retweet it even more. And by doing that each week, our tweets get seen by more and more people. The thing about Twitter is, just because you tweet something out there, you can't guarantee that anybody's going to see it. And so that's why we tweet many, many messages out there just in the hopes that somebody will see it. And we're also, reasonable enough to realize that nobody's going to take action because they see one tweet that asks them to go register to vote. But if I ask them to register to vote and you ask them to register to vote, And we tell them week after week, and then other people see your tweets and promote it. So we're telling their friends to get out and register to vote. Maybe, just maybe, somebody is finally going to see that a number of times and actually take action. They say it takes 7 touches now with a person to actually get them to do something. You know, years ago, they used to say it took 3 times. Now it's up to 7. You know, we get so much information overload in every day. It takes 7 times. And so that's what our media storms can really help, is getting the message out over and over and over again. Okay. Field Team 6 also does a lot of other things too, besides the media storms. We also do in-person voter drives. We're finally starting those up again. And I want to tell you guys that on our website, there is some information about what we call voter drive in a box. We're doing Zoom trainings to lead people how to do their own in-person voter drives. And when you click on our map on that particular state, it opens up directions on how to do a voter drive. And we do the training. The training walks you through all the different steps. But this particular document has links to all kinds of information. It'll have links to videos on how to lead a voter drive. It has links to how to find good hotspots and actual links to hotspots where you can do the voter drives. We tend to concentrate on campuses, courthouses, big shopping center parking lots, that sort of thing. So we're trying to give you a lot of information on how to do your own voter drives. And we've put all the information together for you. It's not really literally in a box, but basically all the information that you need is in a box. Okay, we're also doing phone banks, text banks. We do a text bank into, we are texting into Wisconsin right now, trying to make sure that we get people registered long before the election actually comes around. So that is an introduction to who we are at Field Team 6. And do you guys have any questions that I can answer? I don't see any questions yet in the chat, but if there are any questions, I'm going to drop a couple more links into the chat. We do a weekly email newsletter full of lots of information, volunteer opportunities, different events that are coming up, things that we feel are important regarding voter information. If you'd like to sign up for that newsletter, I put a link. We promise we won't drive you crazy with emails. It just comes out once a week into your email. We're also running a whole campaign promoting the election of McAuliffe in Virginia right now. And if you want to storm, if you want to partake in our media storms, we have a website here that contains all those Virginia assets. I put in earlier a link to our training, okay, that we do every Wednesday morning. You're more than welcome to come and join us for that. Besides showing how to storm, we try and take some time each week to show you ways to make Twitter a more enjoyable experience, if you will, by showing you ways that you can increase following, ways that you can engage with other people on Twitter just to make it a better experience for you. And part of that is by increasing your number of followers. And we've got some ways to do that. When I started leading the Twitter storms 3 or 4 months ago, I think I probably had about 30 or 40 followers on Twitter. Now I think I've got about 7,500 somewhere in there. So there are ways to increase it. It's not difficult. It just takes a little time to actually get there.
Okay, thank you, Deb. I believe Bill Davis has a question for you. Bill, do you want to take yourself off mute?
Yeah, you got a lot of great tools. I am overjoyed and impressed.
Great.
So when you look at the tools, you mentioned texting. I think you mentioned somewhere about postcards. I know that there's within our Illinois Indivisible group, there's a lot of conversations about whether we should be texting, postcarding, we should be calling, we should be using Twitter storms, etc. And we've done all these different things. What has your experience been? Which of those vehicles gets the most, here's the key word, action to get people to respond?
It's a hard one. There's two answers to it, I think. I think that in-person voter drives is best. I mean, anytime you can talk to somebody face to face, it's absolutely the best thing you can do. But it's not always the time for in-person voter drives. If it's safe for you to do an in-person voter drive, that's the best in your face. And especially if you do it on college campuses, that's a great way to register young people, which is, so important right now. It's hard to do. So text banks have worked really well for us, but text banks are really expensive. I think we spent $400,000 on doing text banks last year. It worked really well for us. We got a really good return rate on them. But I think what works really the best is to do a little bit of all of it. I don't think that I can do all of it. I don't think that anybody else can do all of it. What really needs to happen is for a lot of different organizations to work together with the same kind of message going out to people. And if one organization does postcards, great, do it, just do it gung ho. And if another organization does text banks, let's work together and get the same message out to people. And people need to be told multiple times to get out and vote. And we can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. But if we work together, that is the best alternative. So, I mean, my answer's got to be that we've got to do all of it, and we've got to be in people's faces. And, people ask all the time during the media storms, well, aren't just going to be annoyed that I'm sending 20 different, tweets out that all kind of look the same, and then I'm retweeting everybody else's identical tweets out? And the fact of the matter is, no matter how much time you spend on Twitter, you're not going to see everything that comes through the news feed. It changes so fast, and there's so much information coming through that people aren't going to see everything. And so if you tweet out 100 messages, the chances are better that somebody out there is going to see a couple of them. So, we got to be in people's faces, and we can't be apologetic for it.
So you mentioned early on that since these are all virtual with your tools, that you can actually do these anytime that you want to. So does it require somebody from your organization to open it up, to set things up, to allow people in, or can an organization like I'm with the Northwest Suburbs of Chicago OFA and Indivisible chapter, and could we just snap onto one of your events, a Twitter storm, and announce to our group because the Bears aren't playing on a Sunday afternoon that Sunday afternoon we're going to play a Twitter storm, or how does the connection all work here?
Okay. Our assets are always up and available. You can get to our website and get to that current assets page anytime you want. And we have people tweeting out our assets, every day. but we do our storms from Field Team 6 on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and that's when we know we'll have an army of people out there available to amplify your message.
Okay.
I contact all these people through email every week, and we also communicate with our stormers through Slack. And so if you guys decide that you want to do a storm and you're going to do a media storm, if you let me know, I'll let our army know, and they'll look for your tweets and they'll amplify your tweets. They'll jump onto Twitter and look for that hashtag. You know, if you use the voterizer hashtag, if you're using our assets, they're going to find them and they're going to amplify it even more. If you use our assets and put like your own hashtag in it, then as long as you're still using voterizer, our people will find it. And if you just give me a heads up, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to storm for a while on Sunday, let me know and I'll tell my people. And yeah, they're all crazy.
Okay.
So go out and do it.
Okay, so, all right, thank you. But the best opportunity to get the greatest amplification happens on Wednesdays at let me see, 11 o'clock.
It'd be 1
West
o'clock
Coast.
Central Time.
Oh, thank you. I always go the wrong direction. Okay.
So do I. I
Thank
used
you.
to have a map up on my bulletin board just so I could remember.
Yep. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and that's just the amplification part. You know, I mean, if you decided to do it using your example on a Sunday afternoon, you know, even if our people were on Twitter on Monday and they do a search for voterizer, they're going to find your stuff and they're going to amplify it on Monday, which certainly helps too. And just so you know, from the research that I've done, weekdays are better than weekends for Twitter and for Facebook. I socially look at Facebook more often on the weekend than I do during the week, but apparently that's not the norm. So.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Deb. Okay, Patrick, we will go ahead and turn it over to you now.
Thank you for letting me speak today. And my remarks will be very brief. I have a terrible internet connection and I've had it for about a week. So Deb was kind of in and out, but I greatly enjoyed her presentation. So I'll keep it short. Fortunately, there's not a lot of content. I'm just here to speak about an event we have on November 6th. It's from noon to 2 in Wisconsin, in Janesville. And what we're trying to do is unseat the current congressman. And we're doing that by registering voters and saving the world. So we're going to meet in the Target parking lot. And I put a link to the event, which has the address, it has the times. And I'll put my contact information in chat. So you can email me if you'd like to join us. We're not doing any sort of ride share up there. Everyone seems to have their own ride. I have a few people from my area, which is Central Illinois, that may ride with me, but we're happy to pick up people on the way, stop in Chicago on the way and on the way back. And we're looking forward to a big day. It is my first time leading a voter registration drive. It's my first time doing anything for Field Team 6. I became an activist in 2018. I did some small things. I found about 60 other like-minded people on Facebook, and we're kind of they're reluctant activists. And once in a while I pull somebody in, and we're loosely affiliated with Swing Left, but I was looking for something more. And I wanted to maximize my effectiveness was the main thing. I wanted to get more people involved and make sure that I was making a big difference. Some of the things I've done have been moral victories only. And I knew we weren't going to win in red Central Illinois, but we had good candidates and we fought hard and we lost. We knew we were going to lose going in. So, well, how can I make the biggest impact? How can we register people in the most competitive districts and swing states and really make a difference? And let's not just run up the score in blue areas or fight in the red ones where the fight is lost today, maybe not tomorrow, but today. And so I found Field Team 6 through Indivisible, and I'm greatly appreciative. I was inspired by their videos, and I said, how can I help? And personally, I plan to do some kind of systems work for them after this event. Right now, I'm just focused on the event, getting enough people. Right now, we have about 10 people. Some are maybes, some are definites. And I don't know how many people usually attend those in-person events. Do the registration, Deb can speak to that. But if we can register 20, 50 people, I'll be happy, really happy. So that's our goal. And I'm really excited. If you have any questions, please let me know. Again, I'll put my contact information in chat. Please reach out to me if you want to meet us there. And I'm really excited.
Okay, Ben. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Patrick. Thank you very much for sharing that information, and thank you for dropping that information in the chat as well. So I am flying solo today, but I do want to say that Rose Colasino is our advisor for the Illinois Indivisible Social Justice Alliance. She's not here with us today, but she will be back next week, as well as Jonathan. Jonathan's out today. I am co-lead with Jonathan for this group, and you'll be able to see all of us next week. At this time, I am going to turn it over to Kathy Risberg to share information with us about I'll Vote. Thank you, Kathy.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Deb, so much, and Patrick, for all that you're doing. I was over at the League of Women Voters event. They're part of Palatine Plaza's Halloween event, and we were just giving out candy, asking kids to vote for their favorite candy. So anything that we can do to encourage people to vote is such an amazing thing. So Illinois Vote is something that I've learned about through Julia Klein, and she's a one-person whirlwind who's really increased my devotion now to realizing that the only thing that we should be doing right now is registering people to vote practically. I'm part of the gun violence prevention group for NWSOFA, a co-lead, and in all that we do, I know that voter registration is essential if we want to see legislation get passed, if we want to see policy change. We've got to get more people out to vote. So I encourage anybody on this call to get involved with I'll Vote. And today is the celebration Early Voting Day, Early Vote Day 2021. And so many different states are currently having elections on November 2nd. So lots of stuff is going on to encourage people to get out and vote early, because we know that is the one way to make sure people are voting safely and that their vote actually is going to happen. So there are some links here on the slides. Get to know your election officials, protect the vote in Wisconsin, just what Patrick is doing, and also phone banks to reach Wisconsin voters. I'm a registered, I'm a registrar. So I'm excited also to be going over to Willow Creek Community Church to their job fair on Tuesday. We've been given tables, so we'll be doing voter engagement there and voter registration. So I think our communities of faith are also another great place to be drumming up interest in voting. So Kim, I think that is about it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kathy, for introducing
You're
that. And
welcome.
I will be dropping the links to all of the information that Kathy just shared in the chat. And so I'm going to go back and ask Deb to go ahead and give a brief introduction of Ben Wickler. Ben Wickler. And then we will watch a short video. Deb, you want to take yourself off mute?
There. Okay. Yeah. We all forget to take ourselves off mute. Ben Wickler is so amazing. He's the chair, of course, of the Wisconsin Democratic Party. And he did so much work leading into that last election, getting Biden elected. He's just a brilliant strategist. I wish that he was the chair of the Democratic Party for the entire country, because he's got such good ideas and is so good at expressing them and getting people inspired. He came and spoke at an event that we did about a month ago, and this is a chopped down version of that meeting. So go ahead.
Now I get the huge honor of introducing a serious personal hero of mine, the chair of the Wisconsin Democratic Party and a patron saint of the resistance, Ben Wickler. Ben, welcome. It is a gigantic honor to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thanks everyone involved in Field Team 6 and everyone who's on here. You are on the front lines of the fight to save our democracy in a moment of just tremendous peril, something I think we're all deeply conscious of, but this work is working. So I want to tell a little story that I don't think I've told before about the last election, and then look forward to what is coming up and what everyone's contributions tonight are going to help to ensure, or the disasters that we're going to help avert. Let's go back to 2020. Let's go back to the period starting in late August when polls started suggesting that Wisconsin was in the bag. The national conversation started shifting from will Trump win or will Biden win to saying, will Trump lose so catastrophically that it's clear within a few brief minutes that Biden is the next president? Will Florida turn blue? Will Texas turn blue? State after state. And the spotlight started to shift off of Wisconsin. You might remember poll after poll. They were saying 5-point margin, 6-point margin for Biden, 7, 9, 11-point margin. The Washington Post said a 17-point margin for Biden in Wisconsin. We now know that Democrats were staying home because of COVID and they were answering pollsters' phone calls, and Republicans weren't. But at the time, we didn't know about the divide in responsiveness to polling. So people thought Wisconsin was in the bag, but there was one light that was blinking red. Now, Wisconsin has a voter registration system where you don't register which party you're going to be a supporter of. You don't register as a Democrat or a Republican or an independent. You just register to vote. But if you're a political professional and someone who, let's say, had a database of whether people are likely to be Democrats or likely to be Republicans, and you were matching that against the list of people who were registering, you could see the signal that I was seeing, and a relatively small number of people were seeing, that said Republicans were registering voters at an outrageous clip. Trump voters were coming out of the woodwork. And it became incredibly, incredibly important to register Democrats and get them involved. And in Wisconsin, you can register all the way up until the moment the polls close on Election Day. We are a same-day voter registration state, but you can register online any day of the year, and then you can go to early vote in the final 2 weeks and register and vote, or on Election Day, you can register and vote. And Field Team 6 was registering Wisconsin voters all the way through that period. There was a phase where it felt like Republicans had the edge on this one critical indicator. And it was so discordant with the polls that a lot of people were tuning it out. But Field Team 6 never let up its focus on registering Democrats to save the world. So we're getting closer and closer to Election Day, and we are having droves of people are voting by mail. People are voting absentee, then they're voting early. Democrats have this huge advantage. But Election Day comes and Republicans swarm to the polls. Trump voters came out in record numbers. Trump got more votes than any Republican ever has for any office in the history of the state of Wisconsin in 2020. The same-day registration on Election Day was overwhelmingly tilted towards Republicans, and Trump shot up his turnout by 15% relative to 2016 when he won. Going from winning to having 15% more voters meant that Trump blew through what they call in politics your win number. One reason why Trump keeps proclaiming that he won the election is that he blasted way past the number that he had been assured that he needed to hit to win. He got even more votes than that. You would think Wisconsin was in the bag for Trump. And you might remember on election night, there was a period where Trump was way ahead in the vote tally. But then they started to open those votes cast by mail, the votes cast by people who registered to vote online, requested an absentee ballot, and then sent in their absentee ballot through the mail or dropped it into a drop box after Trump deliberately sabotaged the U.S. Postal Service, which we might remember, not something people talk about very often, to stop mail from arriving in time. And as those ballots got opened, it became clear that the combined forces of everyone on this Zoom who sent a postcard, who made a phone call, who sent a text message, who, when it was safe, knocked on a door. All of the people here and the 30,000 other volunteers that I know of who volunteered in a way connected through the party, and even more than that, who did it through independent grassroots groups, all those tens of thousands of people had done it. We had not a 15% jump like Trump, we had an 18% jump in Democratic votes from 2016 to 2020. A massive, massive increase that in the end just overtopped Trump's number. You know, in 2016, we lost by 22,748 votes. And then Trump's votes shot up by 204,000. But our votes shot up even more by 247,000, and we won by 20,621. It was 0.6 percentage point victory in an election where, again, the Washington Post poll said we were going to win by 17 points. The average poll said we were going to win by 6.2 points. It was this close. The polling was wrong. The people who ignored it were right. The people who kept their heads down and did the work and focused and registered and turned out Democratic voters, they saved this election from a catastrophe that most people did not see coming. We won. And then collectively, all of us, our movement went on to win both races in Georgia, and we have this trifecta, and we have this moment now. Now think about where we are at this moment. We have no margin for error in the Senate, literally none. We lose a single vote and Republicans have the majority and Mitch McConnell's in charge again. In the House, it's incredibly close. You flip 5 House seats and Republicans have a House majority. That is about as close as it gets in a 435-member chamber. And Republicans are plotting to steal the next presidential election. Here's how they want to do it. They know that they can't change federal law because Democrats are in control of the federal government. But in state after state, they're passing laws that make it easier to suppress the vote, to stop people from registering, to stop people from being able to cast votes if they do register, and to stop those ballots from being counted if they are cast. And then if people do register and they do cast their ballot and they are counted, then they're trying to figure out, and they're passing laws to make it easier for Republican state legislators to overturn the election results that voters just cast their ballots to create. They've passed these laws in Georgia, in Arizona, in Texas, in Florida, in state after state, but they have a problem. The Republicans' problem, the one thing standing in their way, is that they don't have enough states where they can pass these laws to flip the Electoral College, which is what you need to do to steal an election. They're just short. And the next state on their list, the closest state that they haven't got one of these voter suppression laws passed through, is Wisconsin. And they can't pass it here because we have a Democratic governor in Tony Evers. And we have enough state legislators, thanks to a huge grassroots movement, we have enough state legislators to stop Republicans from overturning the veto of Governor Evers. And they have tried. They have passed 8 different voter suppression bills that Governor Evers has vetoed already. And they have more on the way. And the one thing they need to do to have enough states to steal the 2024 election is to win the governorship in this state. And they cannot win the governorship if you and we and all of us register and turn out enough voters to stop them. So this is our mission, and we can do this together. We can stop the Republican plot on 2024 by winning Wisconsin's governorship for Tony Evers in 2022. And while we're at it, we're going to throw out Ron Johnson. He is the worst senator in the United States Senate. And I know that that is saying a lot in a chamber that has Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell, but he is the worst. He is astonishingly bad, and he is so unpopular. If there were an election right now, according to the latest polls, and say what you will about polls, he would lose by 7 percentage points. But 23% of Wisconsinites don't have an opinion of Ron Johnson. So our job is to get out there and make sure people do know, and make sure that people who know how bad he is are registered and actually cast their ballots. And that is where all of the work that everyone on this call and everyone that we're going to be able to reach because of your generosity in supporting this effort, all of us have to do this work of making sure that everyone who knows how terrible Ron Johnson is actually votes. And if we do that, we can expand the Democratic Senate majority so that we can pass the Build Back Better agenda and make the changes that this country so urgently needs. We can support and lift up families across lines of race and ethnicity and language and gender and geography in rural and suburban areas alike. We can do the things that Democrats get up in the morning intending to do. We can make this a better, more just, more vibrant, more inclusive, more wonderful, more free nation. We can do that if we elect Democrats, and we can do that if we register Democrats. And that is why I'm so, so grateful that everyone is here right now. Thank you. Let's go out, let's fight, and let's win.
Oh my God, yes.
All right. So Deb, I will turn it back over to you to give final words.
Yeah, isn't he just inspiring? Doesn't he make you want to get up and go out and do something right now? I had never had the opportunity to hear Ben Wickler speak before. I'd heard how wonderful he was, but I thought that his was one of the best presentations of what actually happened in the election, in a lot of different places, but Wisconsin, obviously it was a really big deal. And it really made it clear, what our mission is. It's not just to get Democrats elected, although that's what we're trying to accomplish. It's so hard to change people's minds. Any of you who've been out hitting the streets trying to change people's minds, you know how difficult that is. And the way we're going to make a difference is registering more voters. The more Democrats we have out there to vote, the more likely it is that we're going to get more Democrats into power. And Ben said that way better than I ever could have. So if you ever want to watch that again, if you ever have another 10 minutes that you want to devote to getting inspired by Ben, that video is on the front page of the Field Team 6 website. Kim, that's all I have to say, really. If anybody has any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
All right. Well, we're right at time. We have about 1 minute left. So does anyone have any questions for Deb or for Patrick?
I just wanted to thank them. And as part of the gun violence prevention team, I know this is our focus has got to be that, Deb. Bill is always asking us to do more, take more action. And I think this is the action that, my team has got to be doing all the time. So thank you for that inspiration.
We've got a year to go,
Right.
And we can't stop. We can all the day after the next election off, and then, it starts again.
Right. Okay. So I see, Bill, you have your hand raised. Did you have another question?
No, just a comment. That video was absolutely inspiring. I mean, it just encapsulated, 18 months of frustration, election denial, the whole thing. And it also put in perspective that we're not safe yet, and we need to act. So with the NWSOFA group here in the Northwest suburbs and the other Indivisible group, I'm glad that we really focused on this today, because this will get us off the dime, working more and more with our Wisconsin counterparts. And I'm glad to see that Dale is on today. So he's the conduit for many of us that work with him. So I just want to say that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Deb.
Dale, I see that you have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention we have the 1 year to win on November 6th and 7th in Wisconsin. I think leading up to that weekend, Marcy's going to have some phone banking going on, and she's been promoting that from Champaign, Illinois. And then anybody wants to carpool up here to on November 6th and 7th. We're canvassing out of my home using minivan, and I'm real close to the I-94 freeway. And even people don't even have to come to my home. We can send them minivan right on their phones and take a short 45-minute drive up, and then they can knock on some drop-off voters and make sure they're ready to vote next year. Because it's going to be razor thin, as Ben Wickler said. So anything Illinois can do to help us would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Dale. Marcy, did you want to add anything to what Dale had to say?
Well, I'm not organizing the phone bank. I just spread out I spread Dale's phone bank all over the place. And yesterday I spread out the one that's for the 2nd to the access that is going to be specifically on calling voters about, about the Build Back Better, about how the child care, the child tax credit that everybody got, to remind people that Democrats rock. So I spread that out yesterday, and I will spread Dale's phone bank one out for the 6th and 7th later on also. So Dale, you rock. Thank you.
And Marcy, you rock as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. We are just a little bit over time, but we had a fantastic session, and this session is being recorded, so it will be available at a later date. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great afternoon.